Hey friends, Chris here again. So I'm hoping I can get the carburetor on today. We will be working on the D25J Caterpillar. So I finally got the carburetor rebuilt and the parts came. It took a while, but the weather, obviously in Northern California, we've been hitting blizzard here in March, kind of crazy. But today I have a couple hours supposedly of no snow and rain, so I'm going to take advantage of that because it's been going on for over a week, almost 2 weeks actually. Rain and snow off and on. So I haven't been able to get down here to work on the dozer. I'm hoping to get the carburetor on, and then I have to go finish cleaning up the tank and get the tank on, install some filters, and then go get some fuel, and then top off the radiator again because I had to flush it out because I just had water in it and we were in the freezing temperatures. So I got to make sure that, yeah, I don't freeze and crack the block, so that wouldn't help anything. So I'm gonna start a fire with my little mobile barbecue, and hopefully I'll be able to stay warm in between wrenching. So hopefully if I get the fire going, it's just gonna stop raining. It just doesn't keep dumping. Probably won't be able to use my power tools because I don't want them to get rained on, so I might have to just do some old-fashioned manual wrenching. All right, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Let's get into it. Okay, let's get this started. Voila! I took the snow off earlier. Back on so don't get any moisture. So we're gonna get this carburetor in, and I'm gonna split this carburetor. And hopefully I don't lose the gasket. Okay, put the gasket down. Okay, I got some grade 8 nuts. Put the lock washer on first. That nut, this nut is like impossible to get in there. So I actually have to lift this carburetor up to get it started. So these nuts are grade 8, so I should be able to put a little bit of pressure on them at an awkward angle. Was my idea of going grade 8. So I can only get the end of the box and wrench on it from a vertical position. It's just ridiculous. Unless I take off the whole exhaust, and then that's 6 bolts that are all rusty and heat treated on the exhaust. I don't want to deal with that. Okay, I got that pretty snug. I'm happy with that. And get one more whack at it would be great. That might be it. Yeah, that's pretty snug. Great, we got that in. Now let's finish this side. Next step is to see if we can slide this on and not mess up the jet. So there's this guy. Get this side started pretty good, and be real careful because that jet's brass. You can break it super easy. So I'm gonna snug this bolt up with my fingers so that jet's not supporting this. A lot of guys think you should just take the exhaust off and then you can get to the nut down there, but I cut this corner to save some time. I thought I could do it. I just hit this with PV Blaster and shimmied it off really slow. So now we're getting the other nut on. 7/16. Suck it. And I can just hardly get it on in here. It's easier to tighten than it is to take them off because then the bolts won't come off and I can't get the wrench out of here. I need to get a 1/4 inch drive 7/16 socket. One disappeared somewhere. Well, this is aluminum, so be careful. You can strip these super easy. Next step, carburetor is mounted. I believe I need to snug these down. And this still turns, okay. Okay, I don't remember which one was what. This is the choke. No, I'm getting water in there. So this goes into the throttle shaft. I remember you actually have to put the governor on first, otherwise this isn't going to work. There we go. Okay, we got it on the keyway, so the governor should be somewhat in the right spot. I did bend this spring when I heated it up with the torch on accident, so hopefully the spring's okay. So we just got to get a little cotter pin through this governor. And I believe this hits on that push shaft and the controls. So I like putting stuff together as soon as possible because I forget what I'm doing. It's really nice about recording with these videos. You can always go back and see what you need to do. So I can't get my finger in there, so I'll try to use these long needle nose pliers. Like that. So cotter pin. Put the governor in. Probably shouldn't be using needle nose, but I want to get this on because we're getting a lot of moisture into the engine and the carburetor now. It's not supposed to be raining right now, but these last like month or so, the weather, people have not been getting it right. That's what I was tired. I want to get it with that. Okay, let me check the throttle real quick, make sure it's working. Go on the other side of this. Isn't a big deal. No, it's actually, this rod is supposed to go the other way. Oh, I knew I was messing something up. Get this on real quick because this is pretty ridiculous. It wasn't even supposed to be raining. Getting pretty tired of these weather people. So nothing crazy. I just let the oil bath for the pony motor soak in gas for a couple days. Pretty clean, just a little bit of paint particles. Way cleaner than it was. So I got to connect this to this intake piece at the same time. So I'm going to have to play with. Get 3 gaskets at once. It's kind of a pain. So I'm just going to use some RTV sealant to help hold it in place. You just fill this up to that line right there. Okay, we got that on. It's missing a nut on the bottom. I'm gonna put this right here just to keep water from getting in the carburetor. Let's go get the fuel tank. Okay, so I'm gonna put 2 inline fuel filters. Make sure you follow the direction of the flow. This is the flow. See the little arrow right there? So a little overkill, but I'm not running the Cat stock filter anymore. It doesn't do anything. It filters like big organic chunks, but nothing like rust or anything. So I'm gonna run 2 of these. They're real cheap. You can buy them in bulk. These inline fuel filters are really cheap, so I'm gonna run them. I like to get my hose clamps pretty prepped before I get them on there. A lot easier to screw them in while they're in your hand. Don't put them too tight because it'll just make it a pain in the butt. And I believe this is gonna shoot like this, so I want this hose clamp to be facing this direction. So I'm gonna loosen that one up as well. And reposition it so it's easy to get to. Okay, so it's going to be underneath the tank like this, running to the carburetor, so I want this to point kind of like this. That way I can get to it with the screwdriver. It's really important with hose clamps. If you put the hose clamps on backwards or where you can't get to them, you'll have a heck of a time getting them off. Okay, so we got that one on there, and then I like to position them all the same, so you can just hit them in a line real quick. See if I can get this guy on here. Pretty tight. You don't want to put them too tight. It can cut the fuel line, so you gotta be careful. Okay, so there's one. I'm gonna wait to put this one on because I don't want it to be rubbing on the metal and then cause a hole in the fuel filter. So I need to put it somewhere where it's not going to be rubbing on the firewall. So I want to address that before I get ahead of myself. For now, let's check the tank, see if it's dry. I just rinsed this out after the electrolysis right away. The last time my probe, the sacrificial probe I was using, it ran out. It turned into nothing. So it ended up starting to rust again, so I had to redo it. But yeah, there's still quite a bit of iron and stuff in there. Let me rinse this out with me. Hey friends, so I got like 90% of the rust out of there. For some reason, it didn't dry fast enough and it re-rusted because I didn't use distilled water. I rinsed it out with baking soda. I'm not seeing any major floaties, but we're still having, it's pretty much the surface rust now, just a little bit. I think this thing needs to soak in electrolysis for like another week and then it'll be clean. But I got most of it, so what I'm going to do, just so I can see if this thing runs, I'm going to just put 2 inline fuel filters on here, and then I'm going to have to get back to this tank at a later time, get it fixed up a little better. But for now, let's get this thing running. Form a gasket, aviation Permatex again. Really hard with the giant brush they give me. Okay, I think that'll do it. It's on all the threads. Okay, we'll be back in a couple minutes and we'll put this in a couple minutes. I believe that's right where it's supposed to be. The cap was just sitting in WD-40 for a week. It's pretty dang clean. Way better than it was, that's all I can say. So let's go get this on the machine, see if we can get it fired up. These 4 bolts throttle. Okay, we should hook up the fuel line. Okay, friends, we got the gas situated. Let's turn it on. Full tank of gas here. Oh, that's pretty good. Let's see if this fuel filter is filling up full of gas over here. Oh yeah, we got gas and we got 2 inline fuel filters, so we should be golden. I just put some zip ties on here because that way it won't hang down on this belt. But now I can see if I'm getting fuel or not. This might be a little too high, should be a little lower, but that's right where the hole is in the firewall, so we should be okay. And I topped off the radiator. Got some nasty water in there, as you can see. And I also bled the pony motor. If you have air in the cooling system, this is how you bleed the air out of the head for the pony. So there's no bubbles coming out, so that's good. I might pop that while it's running too. So we got gas. I got the battery hooked up. Let's see if this thing will pop. I don't want to flood out the engine, so I'm going to check the plug. See how much gas. Okay. Not too bad. It's trying. Wow. That's what the heck? Let me clean these spark plugs. I think if I clean these spark plugs, it'll fire up. So let's clean these up real quick. The good thing about putting a hot plug in an engine that has a weak mag is it'll take longer for it to foul because the spark plug's real hot. Okay, let's see if we can get anything out of this. Okay, let's check our spark again. Now we're getting good spark. top that off again. It seems like it's running rich. I don't know. Hey friends, so I was tinkering on the carburetor quite a bit. I actually tore it apart and made sure the float was still working and adjusted the float just a tiny bit because it seemed like it wasn't getting fuel. So I believe it's 1/8" is what the spec is for this carburetor. So I gave it a little more wiggle room, so hopefully it would get more fuel, just to see if anything would change. And I tore it apart, cranked it over a whole bunch. It didn't change, so I ended up putting it back to factory spec on the float, and that's what I was doing on this video. I just really want to make sure the float wasn't stuck, because for some reason the fuel was just heading straight to the engine oil and it wasn't even hitting the spark plugs, so it was kind of weird. Okay, I changed the oil. I'm gonna try it one more time before I peace out of here. The oil was plumb full of gas for some reason, and the engine's not even, the spark plugs aren't even fouling out, so it doesn't make any sense to me. But let's try one more time before I take off here. Hey friends, we're gonna have to end this video. It's getting pretty long. On the next video I will be working on the magneto, and hopefully we can get this engine, the main engine, fired up. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll see you on episode 12.